All right, Rurouni Kenshin, episode 18 of the new 2023 series. They made a very interesting decision this episode, and I think it's going to work for the overall benefit of the series, and I'll tell you what I mean. So this episode actually adapts chapters 45 and 46 in the manga, and this isn't really a spoiler. I'm just talking about manga chapter numbers. So this whole segment with Sanosuke and Katsuhiro that we're in right now, this episode adapts 2 chapters. There is only 1 chapter left of it. It's a 3-chapter like little mini segment, and it's actually the final segment in what you would call the first arc of Rurouni Kenshin, like the Wandering Swordsman arc or the Tokyo arc, whatever you want to call it. You know, it's comprised of a bunch of mini segments, like the Jinei segment, the Oniwaban, the Raijuta, and this one as well. So it's all these kind of like little mini arcs all kind of put together, right? And then it begins what most people, myself included, are waiting for, which is the Kyoto arc. And the Kyoto arc of Kenshin is where the series, you know, it really skyrockets in quality. It becomes a 10 out of 10 series. It is basically the peak of Kenshin, as most people would seem. But the thing is, I don't want them to rush, and I really want them to take their time with this series. And this has kind of been like the back and forth of this new Kenshin series since it started, because everybody wants them to get past the Kyoto arc because that's what the 90s anime did not adapt. But all of this stuff leading towards it and the Kyoto arc itself are really, really good. And I want this anime to be as good as it can be, so that it can be the most comprehensive, you know, adaptation of the Kenshin manga that there is out there. I'm always going to have nostalgic value for the original series, but the fact that this anime has just been so on point with adapting the manga that I really want it to be the best that it absolutely can be. So the shocking thing about this episode is the cliffhanger that it left off on, because you know, to adapt an entire episode just based upon 1 chapter of the manga seems like it would be a difficult task to do, especially if you know what the next chapter is. You know, there's a lot more action elements, so the chapter reads a little bit quicker. But I think that it's going to work to the benefit of the series, because to me, it means that they're going to add and expand onto the confrontation that's going to be happening here within the next chapter in the next episode. And I think that that can only be a better thing for the series. I think it could be better for Sanosuke's character, and I think they can add more dramatic moments and dramatic tension into the upcoming scene. So I was okay with that. I was surprised when the episode ended, because, you know, you're just kind of going along with the flow of the narrative and everything, and then it just all of a sudden cuts to black, and I was like, shit, that's the end of the episode. I was really, probably like a lot of people were, expecting them to get to the end of the next chapter also in this episode, and then it just cut, and I was like, what the hell is going on? But apparently 22 minutes had already gone by way too fast, and now we have to wait another week. But as far as the episode itself, I think it's a really good characterization of Sanosuke and his journey and where he's been, because in the last couple segments, you know, we haven't really had Sanosuke in the forefront, because the Raijuta segment really deals more with Yutaro and Yahiko and, you know, Kaoru's school of swordsmanship, and they had the Yahiko episode before that. And even in the Oniwaban segment, you know, Sanosuke has some moments, but he's not really like the prime focus or anything. And we can't forget how important of a character he is, and also the impact that he has on the series, because he is this guy that is deeply associated with the Sekio army, which is this army that they posed, that they used as a scapegoat to say that it's a false army that was betrayed by the imperialists, which is the side that Kenshin fought on. And it led him into this path of self-destruction, isolation, where he became Zanza, the fighter for hire. He basically became a guy that is happy to go around kicking other people's asses and getting paid for it. Now, he still had like a good heart deep down, you know, he was still willing to stand up for people that were being, you know, bullied and oppressed or whatever, but he basically became the bully himself because of this. But after meeting Kenshin, you know, his mindset started to shift. He still has this insane, you know, well, justified. He has this very justified resentment for the Meiji government, but being along with Kenshin, he sort of sees the value in trying to create peace in the here and now, and trying to do good deeds, and trying to, you know, make amends for things that you might have done in the past. And he's basically been inspired by Kenshin. And if somebody, you know, as notorious as Kenshin is, or was, as the Batosai, is willing to turn a new leaf, or can become a new person, or try to be a better person, well, that's inspiring for everybody else around them to know that they can maybe try to be a better person too. I love the opening sequence where Tai at the Akabeko asked him to go pick up one of the paintings, and he's like, oh yeah, you know, you guys always give me free food, so I don't mind doing you a favor. And she's just like, she has to remind him, actually all of that has been added to your tab this entire time. Like, he just keeps walking out on me. It's this recurring joke that I don't I don't know if has been, displayed as well in the Kenshin anime remake, that he just constantly skips out on his bill all the time. Either he has Kenshin and Kaoru cover it, or he just kind of walks out, or a fight breaks out and he goes to fight somebody and just forgets to pay his bill, but he keeps coming back to the same restaurant regardless, but they just keep stacking it up on his tab. I think that that's really funny. But they ask him to go pick up this painting for them, and when he goes there, he notices that one of the paintings is of Captain Sagara, which is something that nobody would want to buy, and something that is really, really important to him, not to mention the fact that he himself, as a child, is also in the painting. So he knows immediately who the painter actually is. The guy's using a fake name of Tsukioka, but really it's Katsuhiro, which is the other child that was with Sanosuke. We've already seen him in the flashback. In this 2023 version, he was in the flashback. They kind of were in the Sekio army together, and they both looked up to Captain Sagara as their mentor, their father figure, their person that they wanted to follow his idealism of, bringing this equality to everybody. So, he's this guy that they really, really looked up to, and he's the guy that they betrayed, severed his head, and put on a fucking platter for everybody to see, using as a scapegoat. So yeah, there's some deep resentment there to the government. And unlike finding a better path like Sanosuke did, Katsuhiro still has this vendetta that he wants to accomplish. And, we've all had a friend that, builds bombs in their basement and wants to overthrow the government. Maybe we've been that friend. But Katsuhiro is that friend. And he has this arsenal of weapons. And he's like, conveniently for the narrative, he's like, tonight's the night I was going to do this. Or it's the night that they meet, or the next night. I think it's the next night. So yeah, the shit's going down. And so Sanosuke has a choice to make. He has to decide if he wants to follow through on that revenge that he's always sought against the government, or if he's going to pass up on it, or even take Katsuhiro down and make sure that it doesn't happen. And I can understand that it's a very, very difficult choice. Like I said, the main antagonist of this series really is the government, which is, just like real life. And they have a lot of reasons for wanting to do this, but at the same time, there is this beginning blossoming peace that is happening right now, and the last thing that Kenshin would want to do is to plunge the world back into war, or plunge the country, back into war. Anything he can do to try to make sure that that doesn't happen is sort of, his main objective, other than just trying to find some sort of redemption and try to protect people one situation at a time. And I really love how Sanosuke handles this, because he's just kind of drawn into his history, and he doesn't have that sort of ability to talk to anybody about it, because nobody can really understand the way that he can. And it's the fact that Katsuhiro is really the only other person that understands Sanosuke's pain, because they went through it together. So he could try to talk to Kenshin, but in a way, even though him and Kenshin have become friends, Kenshin still kind of represents that other side. And so, he just doesn't feel like he can talk to him about it. And ultimately, Sanosuke decides that he's going to go along with Katsuhiro. But before he does, he sets up this party where he can have everybody, all of his friends, all in one place to have one final moment with all of them. And they don't know the reason why he's throwing the party, but it's because he wants kind of one last look at everybody of this new potential life that he could have had, when he's going to delve back into, this pursuit of vengeance against the government, right? And I really love this moment, and there's a lot of added sequences here in the anime that's anime only, that's not in the manga. Most particularly with Sanosuke's other two, gambling buddies. Now, these were the guys that let Sanosuke know that his one friend had the opium overdose that Megumi made, and they had a really nice scene where they had those friends there with Megumi, and they kind of make amends in this moment where they recognize, Megumi was kind of forced to do this. She also apologizes. She also said that she's visited the grave of this guy before. So I really like this moment that they put in with those characters, because Sanosuke's friends, his buddies, they're not really important characters at all. You see them maybe 2 or 3 times in the entire manga's run. But if you want to have this world building, and you want to have this idea that Sanosuke is a real person and has real friends, it's cool to have these extra scenes just to kind of showcase that, hey, they're still there, and this thing that happened was important, and it's cool to have this kind of reconciliation in this moment. So I really like that they added that scene. But yeah, the episode then ends with Sanosuke and Katsuhiro going out to enact the mission with the bombs. And of course, at the last moment, you realize Kenshin was awake this entire time, overheard Sanosuke talking. And so something has to be done here. So I'm really looking forward to see how they expand the next anime episode, if they expand the fight sequences that are going to happen, or if they just expand more of the story and plotline. I think it's really interesting to know also that the 90s series, when they covered this segment of the manga, they also expanded it into 2 episodes, but they did it very differently. They actually had an entire subplot of like a fake Sekio army also attempting to like overthrow that Sanosuke and Katsuhiro take down before they decide to do it themselves. It's this weird little like extra episode. They expand it into 2 episodes, but in a different way. So this series is also expanding it into 2 episodes, but it's not adding in any other real elements except for, like I said, that scene with Megumi, and the next episode's definitely going to have some additions, because it wouldn't make sense to adapt the next chapter and also begin to adapt the Kyoto arc, because the Kyoto arc has a very specific beginning that just doesn't, like, it's 2 different stories. You know what I mean? Like, it would be too weird. It would be too strange to have an episode that's like the finale of this and then the beginning of something else, because it's just 2 very different vibes. So next episode is definitely going to just be the finale of this. Anyways, guys, I obviously enjoyed it. I thought it was very well done. So what did you guys think of episode 18 of the new Kenshin series? Leave your thoughts, comments, and if you're anime only, leave your theories down below about what you think is going to happen. I try very hard not to really spoil much in these videos, just in case anime onlys are here, or if you're experiencing Kenshin for the first time, because, you know, I experienced Kenshin for the first time over 20 years ago. So if you're experiencing it for the first time now, you know, I'm jealous, man. I'm jealous. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Also, please consider supporting the channel on a deeper level if you could. Channel is kind of struggling right now a bit, so any kind of help would really help the channel, whether it be Patreon, channel memberships, or super thanks, or anything, literally anything. Just watching more of the videos, liking, commenting on more of the videos, like literally anything would help right now. So I'd appreciate it. Other than that, guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time.